everyone! So in this video, we're going to be talking about a pretty popular part of psychology that it's a little experiment. It's called classical conditioning, and it is probably one of the most common things people think of when they think of psychological experiments. So classical conditioning occurs when a neutral stimulus produces a response after being paired with a stimulus that naturally produces a response. So it seems pretty complicated, but in other words, you have something that normally wouldn't produce a response, just say a random noise, and you pair it with something that does produce a response, say the smell of a really good food. So if you make a noise and then your subject smells really good food, the smell of the food is going to produce a response. They'll get hungry or something. And if you keep pairing those things together, eventually the noise is going to trigger being hungry. So this is obviously similar to the most famous experiment in this topic, Pavlov and his dogs. So Ivan Pavlov designed an experiment to test this theory of classical conditioning. He had dogs, and he had a bell noise and dog food. So what he did was he would ding the bell, give the dogs the food, and the dogs would start salivating because they smelled really good food. And eventually he kept pairing the bell and the food together towards at the end of the experiment, he would just ding the bell and the dogs would start salivating because they associated the bell with, hey, I'm getting food, let's get excited about it. And so that is Pavlov's dog's experiment. Now you can actually try this in a fun way with your friends or family, and this has actually been repeated in a lot of popular TV shows and just entertainment. Someone will take a random noise on their phone, just a random tone you can find in your sound settings, and they'll make that noise and then offer someone a piece of candy. This was repeated in a show called The Office, which is on Netflix. One of the people in the office, he would make a noise on his computer and then offer his desk mate a piece of candy. And he did this for a while. And eventually he made the noise on the computer, and his desk mate just reached out his hand because he's like, hey, I'm getting candy because the noise happened. And then the person who was doing this experiment, he's just like, what are you doing? And the other person was really confused because they didn't know why they were holding out their hand when they thought about it. And so you can do this with a sibling, your parents, a friend. Just make a random noise from your phone and then offer a piece of candy, piece of gum, something. And eventually, if it follows through, you make the noise and they're expecting a piece of candy or gum or something. And then you get to mess with them a little bit and ask them, hey, what are you doing? Why are you holding out your hand? And they're just like, I don't know. And it's really fun to just have a bit of fun with your friends or family at the expense of like learning how to do an experiment, just simple fun experiment. So yeah, have fun with classical conditioning,